Hi, I'm Rachel Abbasi. Welcome to the Recovery Daily Podcast. As always, thanks for spending time with me. Hello. I had a dream last night that I was caught drunk driving, and it was a really long dream. Like there was so much that happened in this dream. I don't know. I hear that like your dreams are just like in split seconds, but this one was like, it seemed like it was all night long and all this stuff happened. But in one of the parts of it, I was driving like a truck. There was somebody in the truck. I don't remember who was with me, but I parked somewhere, and um there were complications with the truck, and like I couldn't hit the brake, so I just had to let the car roll until it like was leaning against a fence, and then a cop walked over and anyway concluded that I was drunk driving, so brought me into jail. And it was like partly jail, partly an intake for uh detox facility. And I was just sitting there like in the dream for the first time. Maybe it wasn't the first time, but I actually felt this feeling of drunkenness, which I don't usually feel that in my dreams. Like, usually I never get to actually drink in the dream. And honestly, in this dream, I never drank anything. I was just drunk. And the drunkenness felt like just being enormously tired and unable to like function. And I suppose that's what drunkenness felt like. It's been a decade, but I remember in the dream feeling like not really scared, not upset. I mean, I didn't want to be there, but I was like, I've done this before. It's not a big deal. Like, just let it happen. All I have to do is be present. And sober life isn't so bad anyway. That's what I was thinking in the dream. And so this morning I was in my AA meeting, and we were talking about, there was a story in the big book, but what it led me to think about was this idea of how differently I used to live and how I live now. Meaning, like, I used to walk around like I was carrying so much sadness all the time. I was just like, it felt, I feel lighter than I used to. Like, I really felt like I was carrying this concrete, heavy feeling of sadness in my core. And like I was a victim of my misfortune, and life just happened to me. Um, I felt like I everything was, I wouldn't say unfair necessarily, but everything just was the way that it was meant to be. And I was just not meant to be happy. And I was going to live my life that way. I truly believed that I was going to live a life of sadness. And what I didn't realize until I wasn't doing it anymore was this feeling of almost holding my breath. I talk a lot about it feels like I'm squeezing my fists and holding on to nothing. Like I was clenching onto um, outcomes in my life, like trying to force things to happen the way that I thought that they should go. Force control people, like force them to behave the way that I think that they should. Even in what came to my mind this morning was even conversations. It's like I never imagined that people could hold a conversation without me needing to inject in the conversation. Like when I was present in a conversation, and I have a friend that we used to joke about it all the time that when people were talking, all we were doing was thinking about what we were going to say next. We weren't actually listening to what they were saying. And it was funny. Like it was a joke because we both, that resonated with both of us. And we were like, yeah, yeah, I'm totally just thinking about what I'm going to say. So like we just joked about how when you're talking, I'm just thinking about what I'm gonna say next. I'm not actually listening to what you're saying. But it was funny for us, but it was so true for me. And it happened everywhere. I was so self-centered. I felt like life couldn't happen without me being a part of it. I was trying to control everything outside of my fingertips. And it was just like this invisible habit. It was a character defect. And it was something um, that I didn't realize was going to be addressed when I got into my sobriety program. I was doing very little with what I could actually control in life. And it was exhausting. It was exhausting trying to control things that were going to happen the way that they were going to happen no matter how hard I squeezed my fist. Um, I was getting nowhere. It was like Flintstone in his car, like just running in place and never actually going anywhere. And the truth is that I didn't know that I could control the things that I could between my ears. So I always say I can't control anything outside of my fingertips. I can only control what is within them. I didn't know I could. I just felt like I just had a complete opposite perspective of life that that work wasn't going to happen unless I was there, Well, it certainly wasn't going to happen the way that I wanted if I wasn't there, if I wasn't injecting my opinion. I've mentioned this before. The reason why I wanted so much to be a people leader or a manager and eventually a director was because I couldn't handle things not happening my way. And and that's really interesting. I mean, I remember thinking that when I became a manager, when I got that promotion, I remember thinking, oh, thank God I have some say over what's going on around here. Which is really funny to reflect back on that. And that was when I was sober. That was, let's see, that happened, I don't know, 3 years into sobriety that I got promoted into that position. So it wasn't until I guess more recently that I started to really recognize my need to inject all the time. And I've mentioned this before. The moment I realized it was I had my mother-in-law and my mom over for tea, and this was the first time that they met. And we were sitting at the table, and I love having a tea and having I have like a couple tea sets, and I like to make like little finger sandwiches and desserts and stuff and just have conversation and tea. I think it's so fun. In fact, side note, I'm going to a ladies' tea at the church on Saturday, and I'm a little nervous about it. I'm not sure what to wear. So if you have an opinion about that, please send me a message or leave a comment because I think I'm going to wear a dress. I'm not sure. I feel like I need to wear a hat for my eyes to protect my eyes from the light in the church. But I don't think that that's acceptable. Like, I know you can wear one of the fancy hats, but I have some fancy hats, but they don't have brims. So, anyway, leave me a message and let me know what I should wear to my church ladies' tea. So my mother-in-law and my mom it's just the three of us sitting at the table. And sorry, Boris is on top of me trying to get comfortable. Boris, you want to get down on the ground? There we go. Okay, sorry. So we were all sitting at the table and they were getting to know each other. They were talking to each other. And I was sitting there thinking I had something to say, okay, to join into the conversation. And I felt like because I guess I was the host or just because I'm me, I felt like I needed to contribute that thing that I wanted to say. But they kept talking. So I never had a chance to say what I wanted to say. And it was it was like an epiphany for me because I realized, wait a minute, I don't need to say it. Like, what if I don't say it? What if I just sit here and observe? What if I let the silence happen? Because I'm always so afraid of silence. I actively try to allow silence to happen when I'm with people. And I have an old boss who used to tell me that that was important, and it was such a helpful piece of advice in my life. So I sat there and thought, maybe I just keep my mouth shut. Maybe they will have a better chance of getting to know each other if I don't say anything. I mean, what a simple idea, but yet it was just this epiphany for me that I don't need to contribute all the time. Um, I have a choice over what I say and what I don't say. Life isn't going to be better if Rachel contributes, meaning to the conversation, contributes my opinion, you know. Um, it's really fascinating. So that was like the beginning of me sitting back a little more, like letting go, like stop trying to hold on and clench and control people, places, and things. Like I mentioned a couple weeks ago, if my son needs to do X, Y, and Z, just because I observe it doesn't mean it's going to happen, but it's going to go better for him. And maybe I can just let him do it. Hey, go figure. Like maybe he can handle it on his own and I don't need to observe. Um, and lo and behold, he can do he can do these things without me. I don't have to fix everything. I don't have to understand everything. I don't have to be a witness to everything. Like just loosen my grip. So that conversation that I watched between my mom and my stepmom was a turning point in my life. And if I'm present and I allow myself to to come up with these ideas that probably other people, I would imagine other people that aren't so self-centered realize that already. But for me, like the truth is kind of hard for me to find. Like, I actually have to sit and process and come up with these things that may be more natural to other people. Like, life doesn't need my opinion. Not everything requires my input. I don't need to correct if somebody's doing something and it's not the way that I would do it. I don't need to correct them. Maybe the way they're doing it could be better. Maybe without me trying to control something, it's still going to happen exactly the way that it was going to happen without me, with or without my interference. I don't have to manage everything. And what I was thinking about this morning is all this time so I got sober when I was 42, and I had that tea with my mom probably when I had already had my stroke, so I was probably, I don't know, 49 or something like that. And so that's almost 50 years. That's 5 decades, almost 50 years where I was carrying around this feeling like, I mean, isn't that almost like feeling like I'm the center of the universe? Isn't it? Like that childlike feeling like life's not going to happen without me. Like life doesn't, when I leave a room, that room disappears, you know? I mean, I'm exaggerating, but what I realized is that much of my sadness over the years was during the time that I thought that I could control the things that I couldn't. When I was fighting what was, when I was resisting reality, when I wasn't willing to accept the truth and what happened. And I wrote a little bit about that. Yeah, in yesterday's description of the podcast, I remember writing like all the devastating things that happened in my life, and me, like what was devastating for me, and me just fighting it. That sadness grows in that tension that I create from resisting what is actually happening, resisting that somebody passed away, resisting that I'm an alcoholic, resisting that I don't have any control over this person that I don't like at work, resisting that I had a stroke and I have a disability, and that resistance still happens on a daily basis. And when I resist, there's a tension that builds there. And my sadness seems to be attached to that tension, between what is and what I want things to be. And the only times that I feel serenity, which is pretty obvious to me, is when I address the things that I can address. When I recognize what I can control and what I can't, the serenity prayer, and I accept the things that are for what they are. And that is life. That is life. It is what it is. That saying that I hate, that is life. And when I'm able to accept, like, this is what is happening right now, what can I do about it? If I can do something, it's only going to be between my ears. that I can do something about it. I mean, I may be able to reason something out and create a response to it, but it's response over reaction. Um, the serenity that has emerged over time in my life is rooted in acceptance. It's letting go of what I can't control. Like I I can control my response. I can control what I pay attention to. And that goes back to things don't I don't have to observe things for them to go right, to go well. Um, I get to choose what I'm going to pay attention to. And why pay close attention to something that I can't control? Um, that is more of like observance than having my full attention, if that makes sense. It makes sense to me. I can control my next step and I control my willingness. That's a big one for me, that I control my willingness to do the next right thing. Um, and I feel like what I've noticed in sobriety and in stroke recovery and vestibular recovery is that the next right thing for me, let's see if I can articulate this. The next step for me, or the next right thing for me, can be broken down. So, what I used to think is this started in early sobriety. What I used to think is like, oh, I have to go to a meeting. That's the next right thing. Um, so either I'm gonna go or I'm not gonna go to the meeting. And what I've realized is as I sat on my recliner on a Saturday morning, not wanting to go to the meeting, was that the next right thing actually isn't to go to the meeting. I can break it down. The next right thing is to stand up from my chair. And then the next right thing after that is to take a step towards the bedroom so that I can get dressed and do all the things that I need to do to get to the meeting. So today, when I'm choosing what I'm going to pay attention to, it's like if I need or I want, or however you want to phrase it, my son to do XYZ, I don't need to pay attention to him doing XYZ. The thing that the all that I need to do is be alert enough or observe enough to see when he sends me a message and says, hey, I did XYZ and this is what happened. Like, I'm breaking things down into smaller pieces so that it is not so overwhelming, but it's also easier. The willingness, that's even a breaking it down even further. Do I have the willingness to get up from my chair so that I can take a step towards the bedroom, so that I can get dressed, so that I can drive to the meeting? So willingness comes before the next right thing. Do I have the willingness to do the next right thing? And for me, a lot of times, moving my feet or doing the action pulls willingness along instead of, well, I don't have the willingness, so I don't do it. I move my body, and then the willingness is like I'm pulling it along behind me. And then slowly, as I move, the willingness catches up to me, and then I have the willingness. So that's hopefully that makes sense. Like that's how much I have to break things down in my life, um, especially in stroke recovery. Like when I'm experiencing this, I like fatigue. I had a friend come and visit me yesterday, and we were talking about exercise, and I was talking to her about like, and I've talked to you guys about this, like I get confused as to whether I'm feeling fatigue or I'm feeling lazy or I'm just like I don't feel like it, or do I actually have to take a nap? Like I get confused as to what that is that I'm feeling. And I've already forgotten what I was going to say about that. But it's like having like just moving my feet and doing the thing eventually will bring the willingness along with me. So I'm still working on it. But today, what I can do is notice, right? I can figure out what I'm going to pay attention to. I get to choose because that's happening between my ears, what I'm going to pay attention to. Um, what I'm going to hold on to. Like I was talking yesterday about crying for the moon, but the moon won't have me. Like, is the moon isn't mine to hold. So choosing what I'm going to pay attention to, asking, is this under my control or is it not? And if it's not, release it and try to take one smaller step. Break it down a little bit. What came to mind for me today is the idea of just be. Like, I'm not just because I'm not giving my opinion doesn't mean that I'm not present. And it's not passive either. It's not like I'm not participating in life. I can still be attentive, but not try to change the flow of life. Um, I'm not just throwing my hands up in the air and being like, I don't care. I'm still present, but I'm allowing life to unfold without me gripping onto it. I don't have to control life in order to live it. Um, I don't have to fix everything around me. I don't have to carry everyone else's luggage. I only have to carry my own. And then I get to choose, like, why don't I just open the luggage and just take a couple things out? What can I manage today? Um, how can I just be today and observe and that's kind of how I've started to learn how to live, and it feels so much more peaceful. It feels manageable, and that's step one in my program is life became unmanageable. And maybe that's because I was really looking at life like this whole huge, massive thing that I can't control. Like, put it down and just pick one tiny thing up. What is one thing that I can do, that I can control, um, that's that that's not going to overwhelm me, you know? It sure is a more peaceful way to live. And again, I keep saying this like every episode, it's progress, not perfection. I can talk the talk, but it takes practice every day to walk the walk. And it helps me to talk about it and share about it so that I can remember this is what I need to do today. So thanks for letting me share. Thanks for showing up, and I will talk to you next time.